to Radio Express World News, presented by Vibha Ramesh, Los Angeles, United States. A vast majority of the people's attention is on Trump's determined efforts to win a second term as President of the United States, as the battle between the incumbent and the opposition will end on November 3rd. According to sources, even in the event of Biden winning the elections, he may not be able to pass legislation on key issues. Key areas where the Republicans currently hold a majority of 53 to 47 include health care, immigration, and climate change. More on the U.S. elections will be unraveled in the days to come. Meanwhile, on Sunday, for the first time since March, the Transportation Security Administration screened over 1 million passengers that passed through airport checkpoints. Even if one may deem this a milestone, the airlines industry continues to lose at least $1 billion each month, and the upcoming winter season is not showing any positive hike in travel demand either. A wordy duel that started between the president and top infectious disease expert Anthony Fauci on Sunday night took front stage yesterday, with the former calling the doctor a disaster. The backlash from Mr. Trump was triggered after Dr. Fauci remarked on a CBS News program, citing the nomination event of Amy Barrett. "When I saw that on TV, I said, oh my goodness, nothing good can come out of that. That's got to be a problem." Sure enough, it turned out to be a super spreader event. Moving on to Russia, in a joint operation with the U.S. intelligence agencies, the UK National Cybersecurity Center engaged in an investigation of the Olympics. The outcome of the investigation revealed that in an attempt to obstruct the Olympics and Paralympics in Tokyo, Russian military intelligence services were planning a cyber attack. This evidence is enough proof to confirm that Russia would go to any extent to disrupt the Summer Games. The sole reason for the attack is that Russian competitors were excluded from the Games owing to persistent state-sponsored doping offenses. Despite Michael Gove's statement of resuming Brexit talks soon, Downing Street refused to restart Brexit deal negotiations. Sources said that although the Prime Minister had acknowledged the European Union's offer to intensify talks, he felt that there was no significant basis to resume the negotiation. In the words of a Number 10 spokesman, this was a constructive discussion. The UK has noted the European Union's proposal to genuinely intensify talks, which is what would be expected at this stage in a negotiation. However, the UK continues to believe there is no basis to resume talks unless there is a fundamental change of approach from the European Union. Over to Sudan. An agreement to offer a monetary compensation of $335 million to Washington for its role in the bombing of 2 U.S. embassies has led to the removal of the country from the terrorism blacklist. To this end, U.S. President Trump tweeted on Monday, "Great news! New government of Sudan, which is making great progress, agreed to pay $335 million to U.S. terror victims and families. Once deposited, I will lift Sudan from the state sponsors of terrorism list. At long last, justice for the American people and a big step for Sudan." Moving on to India, the 4th Zonal Commanders meeting was held via video conference between senior officials of India and Bangladesh Coast Guards, in which mutual cooperation along the international maritime borderline, especially during natural disasters, was discussed. As a mark of protest for not proposing a counter bill to the farm laws, MLAs of the Aam Aadmi Party spent Monday night inside the Punjab Assembly. Subsequent to their demand for copies of the bill, the Congress government is now set to introduce the bill today. And in France, a year-long investigation on the country's dairy giant Lactalis unraveled that the company has continuously polluted the country's rivers spanning more than 10 years. The investigation agency discovered that the production sites of the company had breached all environmental regulations and for years have been releasing milk-based derivatives into rivers. The act is deemed to be dangerous to aquatic life, as the report holds evidence of a large volume of death of fish. With a single-day high of 1,121 new infections reported on Monday, Austria has announced new restrictions that will come into effect on Friday. To that end, a cap on private gatherings was also set to 6 people if meeting indoors and 12 if meeting outdoors. And in France, a night curfew was enforced over the weekend in 9 cities, including Paris. The spike in new infections and the effort to prevent another national lockdown prompted the country to also limit gatherings to 6 people. Further, it was announced yesterday that First Lady Brigitte Macron had tested positive for the virus and is in quarantine. An alarming number of new infections that more than doubled in just 2 weeks has put Slovenia on a 30-day state of emergency. During this period, movement between affected regions will be banned and a night curfew starting at 9 p.m. went into effect yesterday. The Interior Minister also imposed a ban on all public and religious events and a public gathering limit of 6 people only. In another instance, Wales First Minister Mark Drakeford announced that a national lockdown will come into effect on Friday night and be in place until November 9th. During this time, residents will predominantly have to stay indoors, while pubs, restaurants and non-essential shops will have to shut down. Ireland too is tightening its restrictions countrywide, citing that the current level of precautions did not work. Bringing you to the end, UNICEF, which will be the largest buyer of vaccines, said in a statement that it plans to go ahead with the purchase of syringes and other critical equipment even before the approval of the first coronavirus vaccine. To that end, the agency will be purchasing and distributing over 500 million single-dose syringes and other critical equipment to ensure the availability of these in countries even before the arrival of COVID-19 vaccines. With that, we come to the end of this news bulletin. Thank you for joining us. Please stay tuned for the next program on Radio Express. To receive Radio Express English news and English programs in your WhatsApp, please send a WhatsApp message, English programs, to 90727 95547. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Radio Express. Thank you.